Welcome to this channel, which is called Viva el Español. On this channel, I make videos in Spanish, defending the world that speaks Spanish. And the way that I do that is by bringing light to the things that plague us today. Political situations, threats of war, economical issues, all sorts of issues. And right now we're facing a lot of problems with these leftist movements and basically a modern rise in communism, a global communism, and this whole new world order BS that is plaguing everybody in the West, where all our politicians in the West are being controlled or manipulated by these systems, these occult powers that are just causing a bunch of havoc and destruction in all of us. And right now in Spain, there is a voice that is speaking out against this. And it's not only defending the people of Spain, but it's also defending the people of Europe. It's giving them a voice. In reality, it's actually challenging these negative things that are coming from the left, that are coming from these leftist movements, like these scary homosexual movements that are coming in with LGBT, these aggressive feminist movements, and as well these movements are ushering in pedophilia, and all we see it as is social engineering, as well as genetically modified food, and this excuse for the carbon tax and, you know, censoring our free speech, all these things that are just destroying our lives, destroying everybody's lives. Everybody in the West is seeing these things. And I live in North America, and I've been making videos for almost a decade on all these kind of things, and it's getting really scary what we're seeing with our countries right now, and the way the people who are supposed to protect us and govern us and are supposed to be responsible political leaders look like they're like the biggest traitors we have. They have too much power, and what they're doing with that power is literally enslaving us, is literally making our world something that is not safe. And right now in Spain, they got this political party called VOX. And VOX in Latin means voice. And that's exactly what VOX is doing for Spain. It's giving Spain a voice. It's in reality letting the Spanish people, for once in a long time, in reality, have a voice. And with that, it's also influencing other Spanish countries to as well have that mentality to go against these leftist movements, to improve themselves, to better themselves, and also to work with other Spanish-speaking countries to partner up in reality to see what the Spanish world has, and for the Spanish world to begin to take more responsibility in world events, and as well as with their own situation, especially in what people call Latin America, which we call Hispano-America or Ibero-America, which are cultures that come from Iberia. They speak the language of Portuguese and Spanish, which are Iberian languages and Iberian cultures. They do have elements of Latin in them, but they're not Latinos. Like, Latino is just a name that's just kind of been thrown out there. I guess it sounds right, but in reality, these people are Hispanics or Hispano-Americans, or what we would call as Iberian Americans, because of the culture that they have. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of different branches of the Spanish and Portuguese language, different cultures, their own branches of their cultures, and extensions of the cultures in Spain and Portugal, and as well as the cultures that make up Spain, mainly Spain, and as well as Portugal, which do have different languages and different elements of other cultures that are involved in making up what you see in Iberia as Portugal and Spain. So there's a lot of interesting history that comes from our world, and right now we are defending ourselves, and what we're trying to do is give other people inspiration, other countries inspiration, by telling them that you're not alone. You know, all this stuff that's coming from the left, all this stuff that seems like it's like some sort of communist movement, these aggressive communist leftist movements that are in reality trying to overtake the West, and everybody knows, everybody sees it, everybody's feeling it, and everybody is more than afraid of it. What people are having enough of it. They know that it's manipulation. The way that things are happening right now We know that it's social engineering. We know that right now our rights are being taken away, our voices are being silenced, our families are being broken up. And when you're dealing with a culture like the one that you see in Spain and as well as Latin America, but mainly Spain, which is the beginning of all the culture that you see in Latin America that has to do with Portugal and Spain, Iberia having Portugal and Spain, they're the beginning, and they got their traditions, they got their own way of how they worship God, Christ. They got their own version of things, and they're very proud of their history. And these are just the people who are not allowing themselves, especially in Spain, they're just not allowing themselves to go through what the rest of Europe is seeing. They're standing up against it. And what I'm seeing with VOX Spain is that they want to give the rest of Europe also that inspiration. They're openly letting them know and trying to get out to the rest of Europe that Europe does have a voice. And if Vox has to be that voice, then it's gonna step up to defend Europe in that. You know, we got England that wants to leave the European Union after it has influenced it, and we know that it's the English government along with the United States that they have a lot of wars in the Middle East. They have a lot of stake in these leftist movements. The government of the United States and England has actually openly pushed a lot of these leftist movements, and then now suddenly England wants to leave, the European Union wants to leave, basically Europe in shambles. And here's Spain that is actually stepping up and saying, not only are we going to defend Spain from all this BS, we're going to also defend Europe. We're also going to give Europe a voice. We're going to help people who in reality want to stand up against this. And what people are doing is that they're calling Vox fascist. They're calling Vox a political party that is sexist, that is against the women and all this. No, what Vox is doing is just firmly standing against all this stuff. It respects the woman, it respects people's right, it respects minorities, it respects diversity of people, it respects fair immigration. And that's where I think the argument is being won for VOX Spain. That's where the real important issue is that the way that they're defending it, the way that they're standing up against it, and all this manipulation, all this bad stuff is legit. And the people who are going against it and saying that it's not legit, that it's fascist and that it's sexist and all this, are the people that are showing the real fascist tendencies. And I'm not going to call these people fascists that are against Spain, the real fascists. What I'm going to call them are basically communists. These are people that call everybody fascist who doesn't agree with them. They call everybody sexist who doesn't agree with their movements. We don't agree with pedophiles. Suddenly we're even hateful for that. So, and the reason why I criticized as well as the English system for pushing a lot of this leftist stuff is we know it. We see it with Hollywood. We see it with since the beginning, with the beginning of the people who sing and are influential, to the Beatles, to almost all the singers are from England, like the famous rock bands, the people who pioneered a lot of the modern music that the United States is famous for. It comes from England, and if you look at the message of that music, it's very satanic. So you see, you got a system with the English world that defends themselves against communism, defends themselves against these dark, occult, and satanic movements, this manipulation. But then, at the same time, what rules the English systems, what rules the media, the system of influence, everything, is that what they're fighting against. So everything that the United States was liberated for, everything that the United States fought for, is right now what the United States, what they fought for to protect and be, and also what they fought against. So they fought to be what the United States was for a long time, a country that was trying to push freedom and as well have freedom for its own people and try to have fairness. But at the same time, if you look at it, at the same time, the United States also harbors what the American people fought against. So you see, the whole point of that independence, of fighting the American Revolution, was to escape what the United States is becoming today, what Congress has become, what Parliament is in England, what it's always been, and what is now in Canada, Australia, the whole Commonwealth thing. It's still being manipulated. It's still being ran by aristocratic, autocratic rule. You know what I'm saying? And that's coming from the cult, from the Freemason and everything. You see it on their dollar bill. You see it in all their symbolism. The Medal of Honor is an upside down star, which is basically like, and then they got a lot of symbolism to do with Ishtar, basically the god of Babylonia, the goddess of Babylonia. You know, and then when you read the Bible and everything, and everything that the English world truly, with the proper morals, stands for, is being violated by what right now the modern English systems are pushing. So that's why, living in an English country, I talk a lot to the people that speak Spanish, because they seem to be the only people who actually question this openly, where their media sources actually question these things. Like, they talk about these things. They don't just censor it. That means that Spain in particular, and a lot of the Spanish-speaking region, but Spain in particular, it's not bought. It's not bought off by these occult powers. And that's probably why it gets criticized so hard by other systems that are pushing these movements, these leftist movements, because they ultimately know that what puts these movements at risks is countries like Spain, countries that don't allow themselves, countries that are in the West that do everything properly. You can't call them terrorists, you can't call them bad people, racist or anything. They just do things fair. And they fight for it, and they do it in a fair way. And that's where Spain should be respected. And Portugal, being its neighbor, also follows suit in that. But Portugal always, you know, keeps quiet, does its own thing, tries to be as neutral as possible from these things. But Portugal as well thinks like this. They also defend themselves against things like these. That's why in times like these, you see Portugal and Spain always kind of supporting more the right than anything leftist. And no matter how much the left tries to take over in Spain or Portugal, no matter how much the government is influenced or certain traitorous elements are paid off, the people always stand against these leftist things. It's always been like that, but at the same time, the country of Spain, or the system of Spain, the whole history of it has always pushed specific forms of liberalism, specific forms of women's rights, and a welfare system where it tries to help its people and tries to distribute its systems fairly, where it does proper social systems. It does give equal rights to people. It gives equal rights to people that you can't call those autonomous regions in Spain oppressed. In reality, if you look at all the regions in Europe, every single region has been taken over, has been conquered. Has basically, every single different culture and language has basically almost been destroyed or blended in or assimilated into the original culture. But in here you got Spain, who's always attacked. People always make propaganda against it, especially, you know, the language I'm speaking right now, English. You know, because why? Because the English world competed with it. We competed for the land. The United States competed for the land against the Spanish world. So it's always made bad propaganda against it, calling it tyrannical, calling it this and that. And right now there's a lot of propaganda made against Spain because it wants to keep its unity. And there's a lot of bad propaganda that looks like almost like espionage. It looks like sabotage that is influencing these independence movements in Spain, that is causing problems with Catalonia. People that are claiming to be right-wing and to be against tyranny and leftist oppression or whatever, you know, communism, are saying that, you know, Spain is oppressing Catalonia. And why would they say that? When you in reality look at the kind of country Spain is, they're the most patriotic. They support everything that the English world supports. All the patriotism that the English world has, 100%, and even more, I can say, Spain has it. You know, Spain has that patriotism 100%. That England has everything 100%. It's real. It lives within its people. It lives in the attitude of its people. It's not just something that is brought up once in a while. It's something that is almost religious. The patriotism to defend, you know, the Bible, the faith in God is like a duty in Spain. and defending themselves against these bad movements, manipulation like this, you know, they've had a hard past. But when it comes to truly defending their people and truly trying to do things right, or at least keep things to a standard where families are respected, you know, man and woman, where children are respected, where the family system is respected, Spain does that good. It outdoes most other modern cultures. It still does that today. In keeping up with respecting the family and culture, and as well as diplomacy and other people. But there is a lot of negative stuff that's made about Spain all the time, and right now Spain's being hounded and attacked left, right, and center by all sorts of attitudes that are from the right wing and left wing that just basically want to fragment Spain. They don't want Spain working with other Spanish-speaking regions. They don't want to see Spain being like the United States and England, where Spain has full influence over what they call Latin America, and where the Spanish-speaking world just works within themselves. They're good, they're technologically advanced, they're not jumping borders, their resources are not being distributed elsewhere. The crisis in Venezuela would not exist if Spanish-speaking countries had more influence within themselves. People like Maduro would not exist. Places like China and Russia wouldn't be against the United States out in Venezuela. That wouldn't happen. Problems with the Panama Canal, things with Cuba wouldn't be like this. You see? So there's an importance with a lot of the major powers today that don't want Spain working with other Spanish-speaking regions. So I see a lot of this propaganda in Spain always been very intentional. The revolutions against Spain were also very different. You know, like people say that Spain was racially cleansing, the Spanish-speaking regions in America and all this. It's not like that. If you actually study the history, it's a completely different thing. So culturally and militarily wise and expansion wise and wars for the frontier and expanding territory, I can understand the propaganda being made against Spain. But nowadays, to continuously make that propaganda against Spain and like everything that they do is wrong, you know, people are starting to kind of catch on to that and be like, you know, Spain's really not this bad country. We don't really think that the history of Spain's really as bad as it's been made look. Yes, you know, like the English world already has the territories, already has the stuff. Why keep hounding it? And that's because a lot of what controls the English world and a lot of the powers today are pushing for that, what you would call New World Order. And yes, places like Spain stand against that. The Spanish world stands against the New World Order. It does influence Europe in standing against all these leftist and global communist movements. It is. And I can see that being a major threat against the major powers that want to expand that. Corporations and people of power, Illuminati, Rothschilds, whatever you want to call it, global banking system, the globalists, all that stuff that Alex Jones always talks about. And Alex Jones, who is totally patriot for the United States, was criticizing Spain and trying to keep its unity and stuff like that. You know, so there's a lot of things that have to change. And if we really want to defeat this leftist expansion, you know, this communism that's overtaking all of us, we're going to have to work together. The Spanish-speaking and the English-speaking world is going to have to work together without manipulation, without backstabbing, without, I'm saying, like we're not Babylon. We shouldn't be falling. We got good people, good God-fearing people. You know, we got good systems. We got the best systems in the world. We don't need them to be some Babylon. We don't need them to be some manipulated, corrupt system that's rotting from the inside. We don't need to fall like some Roman Empire that's overdue. No, we should be able to continue and be able to set good laws and good things. But the way that we're going today is wrong. And our people are the ones who are paying the price. And we don't know who our real enemies are. Yes, we know that. We know who a lot of our enemies are, where they're coming from, how they're doing this stuff. But we don't know exactly who they are and how to take them out of power. Because that's what has to happen. And I'm telling you, the way that we're going to fight back is by fighting back to the community, bringing back town halls, printing press, writing stuff, writing notes and copying them and printing them and sending them to your community. You know what I'm saying? Challenging this stuff from the fundamental level. You know what I'm saying? And bringing stuff back to normal. So that's just my video relating VOX Spain. I'll make more videos, but I haven't made many videos in English because I've been making them in Spanish. But that's what I want to say about VOX Spain and about the situations that are happening in Spain and with the Spanish world, and a lot of with the politics that's happening around the world. So I hope that you guys were able to take good information from this video. You guys can share this video and translate it in whatever language you want. And yeah, just as long as you put the title to this video and the link to this video and channel. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. And if you understand Spanish, you can subscribe to this channel. And I'll also leave a link to the channel that I make in English, which is called Wise Warriors Path 2. So all of you, until next time, you have a wonderful day, and God bless you all. Goodbye.